Hello, and welcome to your weekly episode on Shadow Space. If you are on a healing journey, a self discovery journey, or perhaps just into personal and self development, you have definitely found your show. On this show, we like to take deep dives and explore what it means to do the shadow work and also talk about the hidden aspects of our personalities, the parts we often keep buried for reasons that may be known or unknown to us. Kind of juicy, right? Well, I invite you to stick around and find out what this is all about. But in the meantime, I'd like to formally introduce myself. My name is Laura Brown. I am your host, and I am a certified trauma-informed coach, as well as a breathing and meditation coach. Shadow Space was inspired by my own personal struggles through my healing journey that I've been on for a number of years, that I'm still very much on, and all of the discoveries I've made about myself. Listen, some were great, others, not so much. But I've learned the value of integrating every bit and part of these aspects of myself by working through the shadow. So I wanted to create a platform where we can bring these topics to the light, no pun intended, but kind of, and really talk about these often perceived weaknesses, insecurities, unconscious patterns, behaviors, and what have you, that can sometimes hinder us and keep us stuck in life. For anyone who's been on this journey, this path can be very difficult to navigate and sometimes isolating and really lonely. This is how I felt most of my journey. So I wanted to build a sense of community where we can come together and hopefully openly share, support, and empower one another. But most importantly, also learn and feel inspired by each other. That's really the purpose of my show, is to really help you understand that you are not alone and that you are capable of more than you can ever imagine, and nothing is inherently wrong with you, despite what your mind, thoughts, and beliefs may suggest. Okay? So I hope you guys continue to tune in often, and I hope you guys continue to find inspiration through my journey. And I'm also all right, before we dive into today's show, I just want to take a moment and apologize to all of you guys, my loyal listeners, who have been tuning into my podcast and haven't seen a new show from me. I just realized that I have been on a 1-month hiatus, and for good reason. For lack of better words, let's just say my life has been lifing lately. I don't know if you guys know what I mean by that, but if you've ever had an experience where your personal life just took off by a storm, you can probably relate to what I'm saying right now. But the last month and a half has been just incredibly busy for me personally. Just to give you guys a little background, I have 3 boys who are 19. They're triplets. And they were moving out of college. And so we had to move them out and did 3 trips in the span of a week and a half. And then I was hosting my brother's wedding in between that. And I just came back from a trip in Las Vegas for a conference. So yes, it's just been absolutely insane. And so I just wanted to take a moment and just apologize to all of you guys, because I have missed you guys and I've missed the show. And I've been trying my best to put on a show on the road while I've been traveling and doing all kinds of things, and it was just not happening. So again, I'm really, really deeply sorry. And here we are a month later. It's just so crazy how time flies. But I am back and I'm so excited. I am super, super excited because I have some incredible shows lined up for you guys, and I am just so excited to be able to be here on my podcast and to share my voice with you guys again. And thank you all so much for your patience. And with all that being said, let's dive into today's show. So today's show is actually inspired by my trip in Vegas. And I wanted to kind of spend some time and talk about this topic because quite literally everywhere I went, I saw this message. whether it was on someone's t-shirt or a sign, or I guess just it everywhere, even on napkins, I kept seeing this message. And to me, when that happens, I take that as synchronicity, that it means something deeper, and that, I need to pay attention to it. And so anytime I encounter a lot of the similar messages coming at me, I take notice of that. So the message that kept popping up was never stop exploring. Never stop exploring. And as you guys know, I've been on a healing journey for a while. And so through this journey, I have learned so many things about myself, and I have made so many discoveries about myself. And through all that, it really opened up my sense of curiosity about so much more about myself and others. And so for me, self-exploration has been something that has been very prominent in my life in the past few years. And so when I saw this message, it was almost like a reminder that kept popping up to remind me to continue on this journey. And so I wanted to talk about self-exploration a little bit and what that entails, and how that has opened up my world beyond my wildest dreams, and how that can really help you as well if you're on a similar path, or if you're just, curious about certain things about yourself and perhaps doesn't know where to start. So I want to spend a little bit of time just diving into self-exploration, and how that has really benefited me. So here's what I want to say before I talk about self-exploration. To me, I always thought that self-discovery and self-exploration were synonymous. But I've come to learn that these are two different things, entirely, completely different things. Self-exploration to me means that you develop a sense of curiosity about certain things, certain aspects maybe of yourself, or certain areas of your life that you're interested in diving into deeper. And also you develop a sense of kind of like, I don't know, childlike wonder as well. Whereas I think self-discovery takes time to develop. It's over the course of time that something comes into light, right? And so when we're talking in the context of the shadow, for example, right, when you start diving deeper into these aspects of yourself and you start digging and trying to uncover things, you may not find the answer right away. And that is perfectly normal, not to discover what you're looking for right away. Because to me, I think self-discovery is more of a journey, right? It's a process that evolves over time. And then once it happens, it's kind of like an epiphany that happens. And then you look back at the process and you're like, oh my God, it was here all along. Or gosh, there were clues all along that I could have seen and that I could have, put together, could have pieced together, or could have understood this way. And then you realize that, okay, you needed to go through this trajectory and through this process and through this journey in order to discover that. And that was all designed on purpose. Like, to me, self-discovery is designed on purpose. Because if you just find out what you need to find out, there's nothing special to it. At least in my perspective, it doesn't become something special. Rather, it becomes something like, oh, okay, cool. I got the clue, I'm moving on, and I'm done. Whereas self-exploration, on the other hand, to me, you develop more of a childlike wonder. There's a level of excitement that comes with self-exploration that, lends itself to you becoming more curious about things and having more of a willingness to dive and to discover and to take initiative and to want to find out, right? You develop a sense of curiosity, but also a sense of courage. You become more empowered to want to do the work, right? To go into the areas that you're curious about for the reasons that you want to discover, right? So I don't know if I'm explaining that correctly. So like self-exploration to me is more like you're treating yourself as a case study, or you're treating the matter, whether it's yourself or something specific, as a case study. So you're coming into it with a level of openness. There is a level of like vastness that surrounds exploration because you're open to different possibilities. You're open to different paths. You're open to where it might lead you, right? There is less rigidity with self-exploration, whereas I think for certain things in life, we become resistant to it. Whereas self-exploration over time becomes actually fun. For me, it became fun. I wanted to engage more into self-exploration. When I started my journey, once I realized so many little clues about myself that led me to this big place, I was like, oh my gosh, I want to do more of that. Because again, it opens up this like childlike wonder about your life, about yourself. And then you have more of an initiative and you have more of a drive to want to do it. Does that make sense? I don't know. So for me, it's like you become more like you're treating yourself as a project, and then you're digging through that project to try to find out all the different clues, the possibilities, the insights, the epiphanies, or, just the things that you need to find out in order for you to start putting the pieces together. So does it necessarily give you the answers all the time? No, but it opens up a path, a big path for you, many paths for you to want to explore. And that to me is it's just incredible. It is just amazing because I am wired that way naturally. I have so much curiosity in my life and about myself, about things in general. I'm always asking questions. And so for me, self-exploration is just a beautiful thing because there is no truer truth than what you discover in self-exploration and self-discovery. Because you can read books about this stuff all the time, right? There's millions and millions of books and material out there. There's so many resources out there. There are so many specialists and people who specialize in this area of life who can guide you. But there is nothing truer than you coming to that self-realization when you do this level of work on yourself. This is why it is so special. This is why it is so meaningful. This is why it is so true. And to me, there is no truer truth. I don't know if that's even a sentence or a word, but I'm making it up and we're going with it. So stay with it if you want. Use it, whatever. But there is no truer truth to me than that of you exploring who you are and discovering more of who you are. And because I have skipped so many shows this past month, I am going to do a bonus show for you guys on self-discovery. And so I'm going to share my perspective on that as well with you guys. So stay tuned for that. I will be uploading another show on self-discovery. But to stay on the topic of what we're talking about here is self-exploration. It's just that there's avenues, there's ways, and there's so many things that open up, and all of a sudden your world becomes bigger. Your seemingly small world expands out of nowhere because you discover all of these different ways and different things about yourself. So with all that being said, let's talk about some practical ways, right, to engage in self-exploration, because I do believe there are certain paths that you can take and there's certain ways you can begin to do this work. And it's not always as simple, but once you understand the framework, it is so easy. And like I said, it becomes fun and it becomes something that you want to engage in all of the time. So when you understand, right, the practice of self exploration, which is nothing really more than just examining your thoughts, your feelings, your values, your beliefs, perhaps, your identity, your background, your views, your emotions. I mean, the list goes on, with the purpose of better understanding yourself and with the purpose of self improvement. And sometimes people, I don't want to talk about therapy as a blanket statement because I know therapy is very, very important. But in therapy, sometimes you're encouraged to do some self exploration exercises about yourself. And so it's the same concept, right? When you initiate self exploration for yourself, you just are really just trying to uncover more of who you are, your thoughts, your values, your beliefs, and all that kind of stuff, which may also change over time because as we continue to grow and evolve and have different experiences, our views are going to change, our thoughts are going to change, our feelings, we all know our feelings come and go. They're not always true, they're not always permanent. So all of that might change. But in order for you to begin to discover or at least start the process of self-exploration, I believe there's specific ways you can do that, and there's practical ways you can do that. And one of the best ways I have found for myself, honestly, is journaling, right? It sounds really boring. I get it. When you say journaling, people just roll their eyes because it's like, one more thing to journal about. And I share the sentiment, believe me. It's like one more thing to journal about. But journaling is such a powerful tool because you can actually be really raw and authentic with yourself if you allow yourself to be and discover these things that you're curious about, right? And I'll share an example here. For example, let's take triggers. When you are triggered, sometimes you can control the trigger, other times you can't. And when you can't control the trigger, and let's say you react, does it ever dawn on you to say, well, what made me react? What was the underlying reason why I had such an intense reaction to this trigger? What was it that drove me outside of my norm to act this way? And what was it that may have invoked a hurt, pain, or, maybe touched a wound? What was it? And so when you ask yourself these deep questions, you may be surprised at what starts to come up to the surface, I should say, not in the surface, sorry. And it's strange, but it's also cool because when you start to line up these things, let's say you're working on triggers for a whole month and you're trying to examine yourself and the things that trigger you and the underlying reasons why you get triggered. If you start to work on this for a whole month or 2 months or 3 months, you may be surprised at the connections that you discover. Like for me, for example, for a long time, it was really hard to work with anger within myself. I would suppress my anger rather than express it in a healthy way. And expressing your anger is definitely a healthy thing, but you have to learn to express it in a healthy way that is conducive to you and to others, right? And so if you don't know how to express anger, or you were perhaps as a child told that anger was a bad thing, you may have learned some unhealthy coping mechanisms like I learned. My unhealthy coping mechanisms was to suppress my anger and never express it. And what comes from that is that other people can actually sense it. And so then they think, oh, wow, I can really just do whatever I want. I can really say whatever I want. This person's always going to be nice. This person's always going to not have any boundaries. This person's always going to allow me to do things that I can get away with. And whether you feel that way as the person or not, this is how other people may perceive it. And so learning to express your anger is so empowering, again, in a healthy way. But these are some of the things that I had discovered about myself when I started to do my self-exploration. It's like, why do I repress my anger? Where does that come from for me? And how can I empower myself to express anger in a healthy way? Now, have I achieved that so far? I'm on the path of achievement, let's just say. I have not mastered that yet, but I am on the path of mastering it. But now, I'm aware of it and I can work with it. And so for me, that's what that self-exploration revealed to me. It was that, hey, take a moment and look at your anger. And why is it that you are not expressing anger? Anger is a perfectly healthy emotion when expressed in a healthy manner. It is a useful emotion. It is one of the most powerful emotions that we possess as human beings. But if we don't really explore and try to understand what makes us do what we do, then we'll never know, right? And so you go on through life repressing and feeling like you're suffering inside and that you're trapped and that you are in this, what's the best way to describe it? You're misunderstood and all of these things that come from repressing yourself, your true self, where that couldn't be further from the truth. It's just that you don't know how to work with your anger, or you don't know how to work with your emotions effectively. So again, self-exploration is not always about discovering some of those bad things or perceived bad things. Self-exploration sometimes is about just understanding the connection between things and what makes you act or tick a certain way. So it is so powerful and it is so much fun. And so another example of self-exploration that is a little more fun, less serious, is that when I began to do my introspective work, I discovered the best way I know how to express myself is through writing. And I never understood the connection for me between writing and self-expression. Never. I just always thought, when you hear people say, oh, this so-and-so is a great writer. Oh, so-and-so knows how to write. So-and-so will be, a bestseller one day. I always thought that was inaccessible or only accessible to very few people. I never understood that writing is such a powerful tool and a tool that is very powerful for self-expression. So when I discovered that about myself, right, writing became something that I'm really, really passionate about. I love to write, and I am a very good writer, as I have discovered. And I kind of experimented with different writing styles. Like I experimented with automatic writing, which I will say to anyone who's interested in that, it is not to be taken lightly, because when you're doing automatic writing, you are it's like you're word dumping on a document for however long you can go. And that can really be draining, and it can actually be very, very difficult after the fact to find grounding. When I first explored with automatic writing, I think I felt disillusioned for a few minutes afterwards, and then I had to drink a lot of water, and I'm like, I don't understand what's going on. And so then when I started to dig more into automatic writing, I realized that, oh gosh, people talk about this, because it's literally there's no writing style with automatic writing. You're just word dumping. You're just writing whatever comes to mind, and you're writing at whatever pace you're writing. Sometimes you write fast, sometimes you write slow, but you're not thinking really, and you're not really, you're not really trying to paraphrase anything. but you're just writing, right? And so that's just kind of like, it's like purging on a piece of paper. That's the best way I can describe it. And so for anyone who's interested in it, please read up about it before you engage in it, because like I said, it can be very draining. But back to my discovery about that is I started to do automatic writing and scripting. And then I started to write poetry, which I'm very, very passionate about, which is kind of one of my dreams, to be a poet one day or just write poetry for people. And I was actually fascinated by my abilities to write and to write creatively, because it's not something I can say I have a background in. It's just something that I discovered that I was a natural at, if that makes sense. And so I'm still now developing it and working through it, but that all came to me from my self-exploration journey. And so to anyone who's out there, when you are thinking about self-exploration, I just want you to think about all the different things that you felt as a child, the sense of curiosity that you might have had, right, as a kid, for whatever. It might have been just a rock outside, or just, a leaf on a tree, a little piece of gum, or a car, or a toy. I don't know. Whatever piqued your curiosity, think about those moments. Think about how you felt. Think about all the things you wanted to know. Think about all the questions you asked. Think about every single thing about that experience, and now put it into context for yourself as an adult. And then take that and begin to discover more about yourself intentionally, because when we do that type of work, more is revealed. More things that are sometimes I would consider more on the shadow side of things, sometimes more on the lighter side of things, but the whole process and the whole experience becomes so much fun that you want to continue to do it. And so I hope that you guys have found this to be helpful, and that you will develop that sense of curiosity that we all need once in a while, to have the courage to do this type of work for ourselves, because it is so beneficial. It is so helpful. It is really, really for the betterment of who we are in life. And we get to have a deeper connection with ourself that is just unmatched. The connection that you develop with yourself as a result of self-exploration is just next level, because at that point, you know yourself on such an intimate level that no one else can question, right, your authenticity, because you know yourself intimately. And that is such a powerful thing. But it's also so powerful to know yourself intimately, because then you know how to be with others in that way as well. So it really serves so many purposes. Not only does it open up the path for you to see limitless possibilities and to have another sense of excitement about your life and yourself, and develop a whole new level of hope and aspirations and dreams, but it also helps you understand people and others on a different level, because you know yourself intimately to that level. There's a saying that says, people can only meet you as deep as they have met themselves. And I wholeheartedly believe that. And all of this work, the self-exploration, self-discovery, shadow work, self-love work, healing work that we're all doing, and so much more, it really is for that purpose. It's to be able to understand who we are at that level, to meet ourselves intimately at that level, so that we know how to meet others at that level as well. Because that's what the world is, right? When you know yourself to a certain level, you can be influential, you can be inspirational, you can be helpful, you can be of service to others, in a genuine way, and you can help others and guide others in a genuine way. That has always been my passion in life. And I didn't start out with that in mind, but this is what it has developed into for me. And so I feel so grateful and so blessed to be able to be on this journey with you guys and to really continue to talk about all of these different topics that are so important for our well being, for our growth, and to really propel us forward in life. Okay? So, with all that being said, this brings us to the end of our show today. And I hope you guys enjoyed the show. And as always, if you do, please make sure to rate the show on all the platforms that you listen to my show. And make sure to check out my socials. I am on IG at Shadow Space Healing, TikTok as Shadow Space Healing, and you can also visit my website, shadowspacehealing.com, and connect with me there. Until then, I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. It is a holiday weekend here for us in the US. It is Memorial Weekend. If you're in the US, I wish you a happy Memorial Weekend holiday with you and your family. And again, I will be posting a bonus show for you guys because I haven't been here in so long. So I feel like that's the least that I owe you guys. So I will be posting a bonus show. Make sure to tune in for that. And I will see you guys on my next episode next week. And hopefully I will be on track from here on out. All right, guys, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.